This morning we're down in Nevada and something special to talk about. We're going to talk about changing a tire on a van like this. And I know there's a lot of them on the road. And have you folks thought about what you're going to do if you get a flat? And what happens if you have that flat in an area where it's not really great for changing a tire? We're going to take a look at that today. This is our friend Dorai's van. It's a Winnebago Revel, Mercedes diesel. Oh, is it sweet. 4-wheel drive, air conditioning. This is a beautiful van. Makes me envious. One of the big problems you could have if you're changing a tire out in the middle of nowhere, what are you going to do if the ground is soft? You put the jack underneath the car or your truck or your van or your motorhome, whatever, and the ground is soft. And the jack just sinks right into the ground. In that case, if you're lucky, you find yourself a flat rock. Like this one. Set it in the proper place. Make sure it's firm like that and put your jack on top of this to distribute the load a little bit so it doesn't sink into the sand. You could even take a piece of wood like this and bury this so it's level with the ground and put your jack on top of this. But dig it down so that it's level with the ground. Bury it in, jack on top. So this distributes the load from the jack. You could even try one of your leveling blocks. Bury it like that, down in the ground a little bit. That would make it so it wouldn't be so prone to breaking. This is our friend Dorai, and it's his van that we're going to be playing with today. First of all, on these Sprinter vans, the jack is located inside here, down below the passenger seat. We're going to be getting that out and seeing what that's all about. And the jack comes out in its own tray, so there it is, ready to go. Now this lug wrench was supplied by the dealer, and it's because he has the upgraded tires on it. It's got the BF Goodrich all-terrain KO2s, and the spare that's underneath the body of this van has a different style lug nut. So we've got the dealer supplied a lug wrench and 2 sockets. Now, if you're on unlevel ground, find some rocks, some blocks of wood, something to chalk it. Put the parking brake on, have it in park. We're on level ground here. We're not too worried about that. We're going to have the parking brake on and we're going to have it in park. While it's locked up like that, that's when you break your lug nuts loose. Spare tire is slung up underneath in the rear. Let's figure out how to get this thing down out of here. Well, to lower down that spare tire, there are 2 little trapdoors on either side of the center line, and you pop them off. And then you got to undo the bolts on either side, and that's to lower down the spare wheel. It says to undo each bolt 20 turns. Tell you what, it's a good idea to do this ahead of time for practice rather than being stuck out on some rainy night or alongside some highway in the dark or something, trying to figure this stuff out. Do it ahead of time. Okay, at this point, there's a hook on either side, and because we loosened the hooks, I can push up on the basket that's holding the spare tire, undo the hook, both sides, and lower the basket down. And that's how you get your spare down. Okay.
And I'm going to slide it out of there, huh?
Yep. Yep.
Watch your head here.
Okay, I'm good. The top of the jack is specially shaped like this to fit on the 4 jacking points of the Sprinter van. I'll show you what those look like when I get underneath. The jack handle is in 3 parts. It's got the bottom part that with this little knob on it that's designed to go in the jack here. And then these 2 parts are different. You have to look at it for a second, then you figure out it only goes together one way. Like that. This ends for jacking. This ends to jack the jack up. This double notch here is to let the jack down. First, to jack it up, you have to turn this closed. This valve down here, you need to turn this closed, just like that. When it's time to, and then you can, of course, jack the jack up. When it's time to let the jack back down, you turn this counterclockwise, just a little bit like that, and it'll release it and let the jack come down. So now let's take a look at those jacking points. Okay, this is from in front of the exhaust pipe looking rear, and the jacking point is right in front. I can't reach it from where I'm at. Dorai's going to show you. It's actually got a hose on top of it from an installation. A stock van probably won't have that hose there. But you can get at it, that's it. And that jack fits right up into that and matches that diameter perfectly. We'll show, and there's one on the other side in the rear, and then there's one on each side of the front, just like that. I'll give you a closer look at the front one. On the front of the Sprinter van, the jacking point is in front of the wheel. Now I'm looking at the tire, looking aft. This is the front of the tire, okay? Moving inward, I'm going to look up. And the jacking point is up inside this. There's plastic here. Let me show you. Let me give you another look. This is the radiator up in here. Underside of the engine back there. Here's the A-frame for the tire. There's some right in front of that. There's this plastic. And then if you look up inside that plastic, up in here is the jacking point to jack the truck up to change the tire. You should know where these are because let me tell you, Dorai and I had to look for them just now. They weren't easy to find. All right, I'm just using this by hand here because I don't have any pressure on it. But this jack only goes up literally about 1/8 of an inch at a time. And it's got to go up a good 16 inches just to make contact with that jacking point. Okay, we've got the jack ready to go. It's on the jacking point and it's up tight against it. Now we've got to bust those lug nuts loose, and you want to do that with your brake set in parking or in park, and go ahead and break each nut. And you do that, do one and then do the one across from it, and then come over 3, do that one, then do the one across from that. You try to undo them kind of in an even pattern. And what I meant by that was break one loose a little bit, go opposite, break the other one loose a little bit, go over 3, break it loose, do the opposite one, and go over 3 and do it again. All the lug nuts are just broke free, not backed out, and at this point you jack the vehicle up. And up we go, and it's 1/8 of an inch at a time. Now this jack, if you've got a Sprinter van, this jack is designed to lift up your van full of heavy cargo. And that's why it's only going up as slow as it is. But it is working. We happen to be jacking this up on very hard ground, so we didn't need anything under the jack. We just ran out of jack before it lifted this tire. That's probably because these tires are oversized. So we're just shy by a couple of inches of getting this tire off the ground. That means we need to put something under the jack to get this vehicle up high enough. So now we got to figure out what that's going to be. Well, as luck would have it, we've got a flat rock laying here. We're going to try that. We were going to borrow one of these pavers from the state park here, but there's one under the tree over there. You can look how deep they actually are. It's way too tall. So the question you want to ask yourself is, did you order the all-terrain tires as an add-on when you bought your Sprinter van? Because if you did, you better check and make sure your jack will lift it up. If not, you've got to bring something along with you you may not find a rock alongside the road. I know what you all are thinking. You're thinking you're just going to call AAA. If that's the case, why did you buy a 4x4 van? It's because you're going to go off-road, and guess what? AAA isn't going to follow you. You got to be prepared to do this yourself. Well, the rock worked. Now remember, remove the jack handle just for safety's sake. We're ready to pull this tire. One thing you need to be prepared for is this tire and wheel is going to be pretty heavy. So if you're small stature, you're going to have to figure that out. I'll show you one little trick that I do. Try to make it so the last lug nut is the one on top, and that just keeps your wheel from falling out and tumbling a little bit and making it hard to get the bottom one out. If I did the bottom one last and took this one off first, the wheel would kind of cant out. It would make it really tough to get the bottom one out. At this point, you just go back and get your spare, put your spare on. Like I mentioned to you though, they're heavy. Let me show you something. This circumference here has got to fit up on top of this here. That's what you got to lift it up to do. The little trick I wanted to show you was to rest your elbows on both knees like this, and that makes it easier to lift this thing up into place. It just gives you something to brace against. There we go. Now I just got to get a lug nut on it.
Yeah, hang on.
Feel the hole in there?
Yeah, now I got it.
Okay. If you're doing one of these by yourself, you're in trouble, but you will get it done because you have to, right? I've got 2 bolts started now, and we just want to get it to sit squarely on its hub. Thank you, Dorai. We did this so you'd see what it's all about, you'd know what you're up against. What could we have done different? We could have put some kind of a fulcrum here, a branch, and another branch, and pushed down and being able to raise the tire up and down. This is going to be very difficult if you're by yourself. And don't get under the vehicle. You don't have jack stands with you. All you've got is a jack. So don't get underneath it. Okay, at this point, tighten them evenly. Now we're still off the ground here, so I'm just going to snug them a little bit. I'm going to do opposites. And now, at this point, we're safe and we can lower the jack down. These lug nuts need to get torqued down to 177 foot-pounds. We don't have a torque wrench, so we're going to have to guesstimate that until we get back home and can get them torqued down properly. Okay, these lug bolts call for 177 foot-pounds. Dorai here weighs 180, and basically 177 foot-pounds is 177 pounds 1 foot from the center of the axis of the nut here. So by standing on this out here, he's going to be putting about 177, 180 foot-pounds on the lug nut. We're going to do them in a cross-hatch pattern here, just like I tightened them down or snugged them down just a little bit ago. Just like that. That's good.
Woohoo!
Just gently put your weight on it. Don't bounce. Just like that. We both happen to weigh 180 pounds. And just to make sure that I didn't miss one, I just like to go in a circle and just test each one. Well, there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope I helped you out in some way. If you did, well, there you go.
Thanks, Rick.
You're welcome.
Couldn't have done it without you.
Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you around.